What's up YouTube fam, Robbie C here. Today we're gonna find out, did MVP finally release, especially with the stock run finally being here, just an overall better Berg? Is the range a disc that should find its way into your bag? We've got all three iterations of it in our hands, and we've got a Berg of course. So we're gonna throw it on several holes and see what we think, and if there are any differences in the plastic for you to check out. But before we dive into the scientific video and maybe just toss the Berg straight into the wall, I'm just kidding. That's the last negative thing you'll hear about it. We gotta ask the most important question of the day. Let's go with, how you doing today, Erica? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
Several times had a discussion about a Berg, and I don't know why, I just always keep seeming to get either baited into the conversation or find my way in these conversations. And I think part of it is that, you know, when you love something, you want to convert other people to it. And so Berg lovers keep coming to me trying to convince me on the disc. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I think this Berg does that one shot extremely well. And I am just straight up gonna say, I think that the hand feel of a Berg, to me, is one of the best feeling. I love this like puddle top sort of anti-groove, like anti-dome thumb track that gets created. It feels amazing. I love the hand feel of a Berg, which is something that a lot of people don't enjoy. For me, I just struggle with the sneaky stability that a Berg has, and I know a lot of people lean on and use that for reliability. And I just wanted something that didn't have necessarily the hook at the end, because I have other discs that do that personally. And thus, I was really intrigued when the range came out, because I didn't think that I would initially fall in love with it, but the Space Race 2024 MVP Circuit Series range was an Eclipse plastic, the first one that came out. And then later on, Eagle McMahon got a hold of it, and they made it in the Cosmic Neutron with these water ones. And then recently, they came out with the stock range in just Neutron plastic. So on a quick detail, for those of you who have felt a Berg before and you've not felt a range, or you felt a range and you've wondered, hey, how is this different from a Berg? In terms of the sort of anti-dome that happens, both have incredibly similar shapes. The biggest differences, I would say, between the Berg and the range come in the shoulder is just a little bit higher on the Berg, which is the blue one here. And then I would also say that the thickness of the rim is something that is really apparent to me. I feel like the range has a thinner rim, and so I know, even talking to my friend Pete Collins, who flick putts and loves to flick putt a Berg, that thicker rim can certainly have an impact on its ability to be flick putt. But really where I think the differences shine is in the flight. The Berg has some auto correction to it because of that extra stability, whereas the range is super frustrating for people because it doesn't necessarily have any stability, so it's not going to auto correct. You throw on Anheuser, it goes on Anheuser. If you throw it straight, it goes straight. And I personally have found that to be super refreshing as a disc in my bag. A couple weeks ago in the Approach Academy series, I talked about the flick of the wrist up shot, and it is a shot that I'm trying to sort of pick up strokes on the field because I'm giving a run at the basket while not trying to land too far past the basket. And the range has been really fun for this, because with knowing that it doesn't really have any fade or extra hookup at the end, I legitimately can just aim right at the basket and throw it. And I would say, as someone who's been doing this flick of the wrist up shot for several years now, I have, in terms of attempts to sort of successes, the range has the best percentages of any of the approach discs I've thrown in this slot, whether that be the Polecat, whether that be the Spore. And the range not having extra understability or overstability makes it really fun to be able to just know exactly where it's going. Now, part of the success could also have come from the fact that I've just gotten better at the shot over the years, so I think we have to include that factor as well. Starting off with a Cosmic Neutron Eagle. Have to remember that you get there pretty fast, and we do have a tailwind today. We're going with the Eclipse next. Throwing these pretty nose up, because I just want it to stall while it's up there. And then last but not least, the stock Neutron. Stock Neutron, probably the best of them. Let's see how it went out. Just like we thought, the Cosmic Neutron ended up the shortest. I mean, that had a chance to go in. See how stock Neutron does. And the one that I thought I absolutely juiced, it's just the thing about this hole is that Stuff gets here faster, but certainly not an end-all be-all. Starting off 2 birdies, the Cosmic Neutron, the one that actually is in the bag right now, being the first one to miss. One thing that I feel like I've noticed, at least between the Electron, sorry, quick pause. I always make this mistake, and MVP people are in their comments like, well, where's this special Electron hex that you've heard of? Guys, why did we have, of all the words in the world, 2 of our plastics both start with an E? I'm sure that people are going to be like, there's other plastics that this cares for, but I, like many people who am not sort of a MVP like loyalist, we end up struggling with this all the time. The Eclipse plastic, I'm just going to call it Glow from here on out, so I apologize, but Eclipse is what you're looking for, just to avoid the confusion. I do find that the Glow is more understable than the other plastics. I don't know about the stock Neutron. We'll definitely see as we throw it, but I'm gonna try to throw all 4 of these flat and just give them a little bit of height and see what happens as we throw out here to this hole. We pulled that a little bit to the right, but it did have some kickback. Go ahead and go with the low plastic. This is about what I thought would happen, is when I throw these, I said that the Berg has fade and the range doesn't. And I was gonna throw all these and it was gonna say, no. Yeah, you can see just dead straight. It's holding so far. And I feel like I'm barely giving these any pop and they're just soaring to this 200-foot mark really fast. I feel like all 3 of the ranges occupied the same airspace within like 4 or 5 feet, which is crazy to find that level of consistency out of a disc. Now this will be the last time that I end up putting with these during the video, because if I'm being 100% honest, these are not discs that I would necessarily putt with, because the Berg itself prides itself in having no glide, which means if you're putting and you often leave yourself with a lot of rollaways and things like that, sometimes you can just be just a total freak and built different, and you can cause the Berg to have a lot of glide on the putt. But I think that it's definitely something that is not there. We're having a great putting day. There it is. These are not discs that I would necessarily putt with, but I know some people are excited for these to come in the Electron, which is the base plastic. I don't think that the putting is really a fair judge on these of any of the plastics, but shout out, there are people that putt with the Berg. My friend Nathan's one of them. Nothing but respect to you guys for doing it. So another thing that I really do like about the range so far is that it feels somewhat torque resistant. And what I mean by that is that I can kind of put some power and some pop into it and feel like when I do that, I'm just not necessarily gonna ensure that it's like burning over and turning over in the time. I can really try to give it the beans and watch what happens. So I'm gonna try to put these on some hyzer, because the straight shot, there is a tree that's like in the way and adjusting the height can be tough. So I'm gonna try to put on some hyzer, hang it wide and see what it does. Let's see what just starting them on stability, because once again, one of the cool things that I like about the range is that it really does follow the line that you put it on. So if you put it on enough hyzer, it's not really gonna come off of it. Like it barely stood up, if at all, stayed on that hyzer the whole time. That's really cool. I like that. That one we hung much wider. Didn't really have any hook. It just stayed on hyzer, which is a really interesting idea, because we talk about pushing hyzers quite often, which is where you want that shot shape of it moving like that, but you don't necessarily want the fade. Really great disc that if you don't have a pushing hyzer disc inside the like 250-foot range, this can be it. That's much better. That was fun. I like that one. That came out of my hand on a decent amount of hyzer and just never really stood up. I think that's another low key factor about the range. And just if you find sort of this disc or this shot for you is, and some of you, that's the Berg. There's a joy to when you have a disc that is this fun to throw at this range. You can really lean into it and enjoy. If I throw a good shot and I get to putt, sick. I get to putt and really have the opportunity for a birdie. But one thing that's like been sneaky fun about the range is the fact that even if I throw a not great shot or I have a longer look at the birdie, I'm excited for the opportunity to try to throw these in and grab myself the birdie from a throw in. Or yeah, like I just look forward to opportunities to get to throw this disc, which is a really fun option to have in the bag. 230 feet. I'm not entirely confident that that was a good showing for like the stability side of things. So we definitely have some wind kicking up. Yeah, it's a right to left cross pretty much the whole way. So if we start these on hyzer, they're gonna get pushed. So we wanna kind of throw them flat, give them a chance, give them some height. See what we can do. Okay, we threw it flat, we threw it uphill, and that's where I think people are gonna be frustrated with the range. I was offline with my tee box geometry, I was offline with my pull. I got a hold of it, I had the power right, but there was no correction. It wasn't like it had natural understability, so it was gonna turn towards the basket because I didn't throw it on anhyzer, and there was no fade or anything like that. So I just have to trust that I threw it straight and it went straight. But I wouldn't describe that as even understable necessarily because it just kind of went straight. These are just going so straight, which is cool. How does it feel like it has a gyro push when there's no gyro? All of those shots felt so fun. Like it was like every one of them I thought, if I just aim this right, we could possibly get an ace here. So this is one that we are gonna throw the Berg on because I wanna see truly if we give these things some height and give them time, see what they do. And that crosswind that we had on the last hole that was moving right to left, it's gonna be left to right on this one, and it's gonna feel much more like a headwind because we're punching into that corner. So we gotta give this a little more oomph, a little more pop, although probably power-wise is honestly about the same shot as the last one. And we'll let the Berg go last. That way I get some wind reads, get some corrections. I would say baby hyzer, but with this wind, I think we need to give it some pretty moderate hyzer and just see what happens as we throw these things. Sort of aiming point, there is a field goal of trees down to the right. I'm trying to throw it at that field goal of trees and let it crash in. Oh, we threw it a little wide and we're over the fence in the road. Okay, just a little wide, just a little wide. Let's walk a little more direct at it because there I think that I wanted to go wide and then last second I sort of, with my coil and everything, I think I pivoted wide. So we're gonna try to stay on our toes a little bit more and be a little more direct. Okay, that is also over the fence long. We're throwing these somewhat like a little bit of hyzer to flat, and they're just holding straight. So let's try to correct here. Let's go Neutron range. That's under the bucket. Let's see what the Berg does. I'm gonna try to throw the Berg like I threw the first ones and see if it has the hookup. Yeah, notable there how the range is. I feel like honest opinion, I feel like I got a hold of the Berg just like I did the ranges. And you can just see how much more it feels like the range kind of gets up and pushes versus the Berg kind of drops. So truly, I think that these discs have a comparison by hand feel, but maybe what you're looking to get out of the flight, there could be a world that you need both in your bag. If you really love that hand feel of the Berg, but you want a little more push, step over to a range. If you want a little less push than your Berg's already giving you, maybe drop to a Berg X. I'm not entirely sold that there is a stability difference right now between the Cosmic Neutron and the Glow, but I certainly feel like the Neutron is the most overstable, and that could be just because it's the newest. This is a 244-foot turnover, which plays closer to 280 because it's uphill the whole way. There's no world that I can get a Berg there. There's just no world. I know myself. So we're gonna try to just turn over these ranges and give them everything we got. Power line was not kind to us. I really liked it. I thought that had a chance. I thought the power line really said, nah. That one was nose up, but notice like they're on anhyzer and even nose up uphill, it's not fading out or it's not flexing out. Okay, that one, we laid into the power a lot more on that one. You could like see how much faster I came around on that. It went very far, but I came around on it so fast that it stayed on heavy anhyzer, which is why it burned over. That's not a, once again, not a disc issue, which is really cool. Like it does what I want it to do. Or I guess I should rephrase that. It does what I told it to do, which unfortunately for several disc golfers can oftentimes not be what you wanted it to do. All right, I'm not sure if I've ever actually put the footage in here, but this is known between Silas and I as Secret Hole. It's 125 feet and it sits between hole 8 of the course and hole 10 of the course because it's hole 9. But usually for videos, it sits between hole 6 and 7 of the video. Every single butcher block battle that has ever been filmed, I stand on this hole and I try to throw the pig and its opponent in for an ace. But I think that this disc, because it goes where we want it to, I think we have an opportunity to actually maybe hit one. So what I'm gonna do is, we're gonna give it 9 attempts. Side Guy's gonna cue the montage music. And in honor of Pete Collins, who forehand flicks these like a boss, I'm gonna throw 3 backhand, I'm gonna throw 3 forehand, and then based on how they went, I'm gonna adjust for the 3rd one, and then our 10th shot will be the Berg. So Side Guy, run the filter, cue up the music, let's ride. Secret hole remains to be aced, but at least you guys know about it now, so you can look forward to that footage one day. Now, as you guys saw on the previous hole, when throwing these discs on some forehand, especially the little nose-up anhydrous, they don't necessarily burn over. Like, they have a little resistance, which is what I think the best shot for the Berg is that anhyzer, like, whip approach forehand. What we're gonna try here is we're gonna try the flip-up forehand to see if we really yam on these, how do they handle the forehand and do they stand up at all? Berg first. Okay, we grip locked that one a little bit. We're gonna go Neutron range, reverse order from here on out. They're coming out of my hand really clean, really fast, just. There we go. I like how straight all of these are. But as you can see here, they stand up and they ride straight on the forehand, no initial fade. I think in order to get these to fade, you're gonna have to throw them on a ton of hyzer, unless you're throwing the Berg. And then the Berg did have the most fade. It just goes where you want, point and shoot. Now this hole is home to one of the proudest shots that I've ever thrown with Precious Child. It's 335 feet, it's downhill, so it's not like, oh man, I just smushed this thing. But Precious Child landing like in bullseye, such a good shot, so proud. We're gonna see what the ranges do. My hope here is to throw them flat on like a little bit of anhyzer. I probably don't even have to throw them on anhyzer. My goal probably is better yet served to just try to throw them flat at that group of trees down there and just see if they have any turn as they fly down the hill. Just the slightest bit of throwing it flat, maybe probably put a little anhyzer on it, and you just saw it held, moved a little bit left to right, and I think part of that is probably wind coming up over the hill that we can't feel from down here. But Cosmic Neutron next. That is disgusting. Holy pollen. We're gonna pick that one up. I feel like we should give these chains a chance to fly. Also, we hit that tree so hard and so much pollen flew off of that tree that as I get closer, I can see that like actually pine needles are like a different shade. I'm pretty sure that my like face is gonna swell up and burn. Good thing we got a towel tail. If you're ever looking for the best towels in the game, flytowel.com. They have Robbie C towels, but they also have just towels in general, and you can use code, I think it's RC Disc Golf. You get money off your order, but there's a link in the description. If you scroll down to the bottom near the chapters. All right, let's try into Cosmic Neutron range again. Okay, that one, we definitely put on some anhyzer, and it just turns. Another pollen cloud. I don't know if I just started progressively throwing them on more and more anhyzer as we went further and further down the shots, but it certainly did feel like they got less stable. Now seeing those two fly side by side, especially the Neutron, I'm gonna go ahead and take the official stance that I think that the Neutron, that's the stability order. Neutron, Cosmic Neutron, Glow. You know what it's called. Here's what I want you to do, ranges. I want you to take a message back from me. to the basket. We're gonna start these things on insane amounts of hyzer and hope that they hold up, because I just don't even know if that's gonna be doable. Whew, this is the strongest amount of wind that we've had the whole video. That's a little more skint up than it was before. Okay, here we go. Less flippy, or more flippy. And it's still, look at all that stand up. Look at all that cheddar. Actively cannot start that on pretty much any more hyzer. Let's see what the Berg does. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the stability difference. Stood up and turned their entire flights. The Berg stood up and then held on to it. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Are you a range lover? Are you enjoying the range? What plastic were you getting in on the range with? And what shots have you loved throwing with it? Let me know in the comments down below. What's your fun disc? I talked so much about, like, it's just really fun, and I love that moment of getting to throw that disc. I love the opportunities where it gets to shine. What's that disc for you right now? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.